So today has been an interesting day so far. My dad called and kind of really irritated me. But I got a lot of schoolwork done. I am getting ready to start packing up my cabin because we are going to another place. Like I stated before, I travel with my husband for work. So other than that, I had planned to go to the gym, but it's just not one of those days. I'm going to get everything taken care of. So I am not wearing my makeup today because I will be working, so don't mean to scare you guys. But I'm feeling pretty good. Like I said, the irritation, it lasts longer than what I would normally like. It usually takes me a couple hours to get over that irritation, and it kind of messes with my head a little bit and just kind of makes me emotionally just I'm not really sure the words to put it in, but it bothers me. It bothers me more than what it should bother me. And so I'm learning how to deal with those feelings. Getting it out is the best way that I possibly know how. Working out is also good because I get about an hour and a half in, and then my body is kind of spent. I just kind of take that frustration and throw it into my walks and my weightlifting. To talk a little bit more about that, we lived in Alaska, and excuse me, and living in Alaska, your body kind of tends to hoard weight. I went there weighing about 165 pounds. I'm 5'6". And I left 4 years later weighing 245 pounds. We left at the end of June, and within 2 months I had lost almost 30 pounds just from sweating to death. So I wanted to keep that momentum going and joined a gym, and have been doing that about 4 to 5 days a week, just depending on what my schedule is like with school and taking care of the house and my husband, and allowing myself to recoup. So my goal is to get down to 165 again. Right now I'm sitting at about 205, and which is a great accomplishment, since it's just now October. So we'll see how that goes. We're really in like a transition kind of period. I'm really sick of transitions. The transition, starting back almost 10 years ago, when I married my husband, 3 years after we got together, we moved to Colorado. 2 years after that, we went to Alaska. 4 years after that, we left Alaska. We had a really good thing going there, but because of my emotional state, I could not handle the weather conditions. They're very traumatic in Southeast Alaska. A lot of rain, a lot of gray skies. I mean, it's beautiful. You can't deny the beauty of it. You have the water, you have the mountains, but in having the water, you get more rain. So anywhere that is along the coastline, it rains a lot, like 110 inches a year where we were living. And so emotionally, it backed me up. I could say that I was not who I was, went through a lot of emotional issues. At one point, I thought that I would be better off in a hospital. Medication wasn't working. And so I pretty much begged my husband to leave. And which is, it's not something that he wanted to do. But in order to save our marriage, I think it's something that we had to do. And I hope to one day go back. As you go through these stages in life, you understand a little bit more on how to deal with things and the realization of things. And I think now having the knowledge how to live there and know what to to prepare for, and having come back here, I think that I'd be able to better, to understand what's going on. I felt very claustrophobic being back in the lower 48. I don't feel as claustrophobic, although I still have issues. So like I said, these are transitions, and I really like to get to the point where we don't have those transitions. That something can be really just kind of smooth and know where we're going and know what we're doing, and and to build from that. But we shall see. We shall see how things go. I know with my husband, he doesn't like traveling for work. One of the stipulations was that I did go with him. But I'm here by myself, probably 12 hours a day. And so I try to keep myself busy. I try to keep my mind from falling into that, like almost a depression stage. I think that some women that going through menopause, we walk this very fine line of the crazy cat lady. And so to be able to take care of that, there's certain things that we have to do. And this is a subject that in years has gotten better. But every woman is different, so every stage of life is different. And in more of my videos will go on, I'll, give you background information and things like that. But I think understanding is the key point to doing this. And I didn't have any guidelines. My mother died when I was young, and so I didn't have anybody to really fall back on. I don't have a relationship with my sister, and she hasn't gone through the same things that I have gone through, so she wouldn't know how to deal with it either. Most of my friends are not going through this. They're still having children or in that stage of where they just haven't reached that point. My situation with going through my menopause was very sudden. I had an ovarian rupture. Well, let me go back. When I was 29, I had to have an emergency hysterectomy. My uterus was detaching and was causing hemorrhaging. And so they removed my uterus and kept my ovaries. Well, about a year or so after I had my uterine removal, I started feeling kind of strange, and I went to the doctor, and they did, tests and things like that, and told me everything was good. Well, about a year after that, my ovaries erupted, and I really didn't know what was going on. I just really thought that I was losing my mind. I couldn't comprehend anything. I couldn't. My husband would ask me to grab something from the store, and I would totally just space it, or just didn't hear him, or something was going on, and emotionally I was just distraught. There was times that he would have to hold me down because I was, just literally out of control. I became very violent. I would throw things, like throw glass, and it would break, and I'd cut my hand. And just these different strange types of behavior. We went to counseling, and that didn't help. So finally I went to the doctor, and I was like, okay, something is going on. And that's when they found that they could only see one ovary. So I went in for emergency surgery. And what they found was that the eruption was so horrible that it was wrapped around vital organs. My other ovary was so large that it was bigger than a newborn's head. What was supposed to be like a routine hour-and-a-half surgery turned into 7 hours. I was hemorrhaging. And so everything was kind of touch and go at the time. And all of a sudden, I wake up and I'm going through menopause, and I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know the emotions that I was going through, the feelings that I was going through, how to to handle anything. And then they put me on this medication. It's like, oh, you're fine. Everything's going to be great. You're going to feel good. And that is a lie. It was a lie. I went from taking no medication to taking about 6 pills of prescribed medication and then another 6 of vitamins. And it was like one medication after another. One medication would trigger my sugar, so I had to take a sugar pill to help stabilize that. And I don't know if you've ever seen or craved something and you just see I craved rivers of chocolate, and I could see it in my head, and it's like, why is this? So they had to put me on like a diabetic sugar pill. Another one caused me to have edema, and so I'd have to take a water pill to stop that. So it was one thing after another. They put me on Paxil, and that really it did not work. And so all these years, I have, gone to the doctor and said, hey, this is what's going on. They test my blood levels and my hormones were normal, but I'm still reacting to this stuff. And nobody, has a tutorial on how to deal with this. And then you go to a counselor and they're like, oh, well, you have a disease and your disease is panic disorder. Well, why am I panicking? What's causing this panic? How do I stop this? And they're like, well, you have to retrain your thinking. Well, what is the basis to start from? How can I retrain my thinking when I don't understand what's going on? And so this is where I'm at. What do I do? So I found that working out is great. It gets those endorphins going, but it's not a cure-all. So what is the cure-all? And I guess that's what we'll figure out together. But I think talking about it and not holding it in my head and going, oh, is she nuts? Is she crazy? Or am I crazy? And what's going on? Why am I so emotional? Why can't I figure out what's going on with me? And so I want to fix myself. And I can take medications. I really could. But I think that is a masking. And I'm never going to get to the bottom of it. I heard one time that when you're younger, that when you have your periods, you're in a sense giving birth. And so in giving birth, you're not having a baby, you're not having anything. And so we have all these emotional feelings. So they say to give birth to something creative. And, in a way that makes a lot of sense. During that time you want to be very creative. You have these thoughts and these feelings. And so I've advised my daughter to become creative at that point, to give birth to something. I do know that whatever you go through in life, you should deal with it, because at the point when you start to go through menopause, you will have to deal with it some way or another. Like I said, my mother died when I was young. My dad kind of did a flip out episode and kind of left us. And I was left at 16 to take care of my younger brother. I had older siblings, but one of my sisters, she left home and went with her husband. And then my older brother, he had his own life. He was 20-something years old, and he had to work. He worked overnights. And so he wasn't always able to be there. So that's one emotional extent that I had to deal with, is becoming a mother very young, and dealing with the stresses of losing my mom, not having my dad around. And then when I was about 19 years old, I got a bird virus that attacked my eyes, and I went blind in one eye. And a couple years later, it started affecting my other eye. So I have blind spots in that eye. So there's emotional issues that I was just forced to go through and not have the counseling or the understanding on how to deal with it. I got married at the age of 20. I was divorced by the age of 25. I raised 2 children and met my husband when my children were around the ages of 11 and 9. And so, which is, all of this is very completely unfair to him. And I guess these are things you learn that maybe you should have talked about beforehand, all these, wonderful issues. And so having dealt with that, or not dealing with it, I should say, or not being allowed to deal with certain things, plays into your emotional state. And so if you have problems from life experiences or other emotional problems, they need to be dealt with. Because like I said, you will deal with them. And the result is, it's not always good. So that's my speech for today. I hope, if anybody sees this, or if nobody sees it, at least I got it off my chest. And, tomorrow we'll see what I have to reveal. Thanks.